Oh my god. So this is a wild opening. So guys, yeah, we have Scrag here, plus the double Stonehorn Hunter. So these guys do have anti-large and anti-large spears that they throw, and also do have bonus towards infantry. So what's really crazy about the Stonehorns is their effectiveness against like a wide variety of targets, right? So we have the double Stonehorn, and Scrag is going to be coming in with the heals, as expected, and a single Iron Blaster. Oh my god. And now looking at the forces of Tzeentch, it's going to be a blue squad. So the blue man group, it's going to be blues on the ground, backed up by double pinks. Screamers are widely considered to be one of the worst units on the entire roster for Tzeentch, but I mean, they are anti-large armor piercing, so in theory, they should perform against many of these big units. We got Herald of Tzeentch with the blue fire. Blue fire spam is really, really good. Basically, the caster can sit on top of Scrag here and just blast him with the blue fires the entire game, and typically we'll get some pretty good value. So, very interesting choices. The Tzeentch army is going to be moving up. Looks like the Ogres have summoned in their first wave of reinforcements, which I think is just going to be Ogre Bulls, I would imagine. Yeah, just Ogre Bulls. Just need some bodies to get in there. Those big chunky boys with their gut plates looking to move up and grab the objective. And I wonder if the Hunters here are going to be actually trying to pick off the Herald of Tzeentch that's up in the sky. Iron Blaster does get through the shields of these Screamers and does a little bit of damage, certainly not bad. Iron Blaster is very strong. Of course, they are limited to one. So Ogre Kingdoms do have some unique restrictions. They have access to only one Iron Blaster in their entire army. They can't have two. And on top of that, they can only bring a couple Gorgers. So there are some limitations. Eledron, you have not missed anything. This is like the beginning of the first match, so you are here just in time. Now, interesting, look at this. Tzeentch is actually playing the objectives much more than the Ogres. We have two blues on the other side as well as a pink unit moving on to objective number 1. And Tzeentch is still going to be taking an engagement here, so a little bit risky for sure, but certainly a testament to their confidence. Flamers here are a really, really good choice. They're going to be super effective at melting the big armor, and from the looks of things, it looks like Tzeentch will be able to grab 2 objectives right out of the gates to get a little bit of an early lead on the Ogre Kingdoms, perhaps. We'll have to see. Yeah, Nurgle Blight Kings with shields would be really cool. I agree, yeah. Like, Nurgle... Here was my theory I was talking about last night. So last night we had a really casual campaign stream, and we discussed this at pretty substantial length. Iron Blaster shooting across the map, able to pick off a couple of those blues, doing some good damage, and Ogres are going to be responding with some Ogre Bulls, which the blues and pinks should be able to handle pretty easily. But, you know, obviously Games Workshop wants to sell models. Creative Assembly is going to work with Games Workshop, and GW, like one of the biggest mainstays of Nurgle in their current fantasy rendition, is the Blight Kings, right? So by adding like Blight Kings of Nurgle in, like I think it's going to sell tabletop models. I think it's like it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for Games Workshop, it's a win for the players, and for Creative Assembly. So I would wager we're going to see some really cool mortal followers for all the Chaos Gods at some point. I mean, Khorne already has a fair amount, but... So yeah, Ogres do have the mobile advantage, right? So they can move around. The Tzeentch army is relatively static. You know, it's going to be moving at 38 speed isn't bad, but it's very infantry based. It wants to keep its formations. Objective's going to be opening up here soon, but the Ogre's probably going to be able to swarm this with the 2 Hunters coming in the back here. The Screamers are flying across the map, but I really like this maneuverability from Ulrich. Blue fire going down. Scrag actually is pretty beat up here. Those blue fires have been really, really effective. First firepower going into the Noblars here. Little Noblars that could, going to be taking those shots, and yeah, Hunters coming in the back. What is the summon going to be? More Screamers of Tzeentch. Now, I've like myself not seen Screamers do very well, even against big armor, and I personally feel like this entire Tzeentch army here is just going to get absolutely steamrolled. Like, I feel like the Hunters are going to flank them, the Screamers are going to do next to nothing as they usually do, and there's going to be a tricky pickle. Now, he's trying to retreat, which I think is a good call. Just pull back and maybe get to some more reinforcements here. Tzeentch, of course, will be getting this objective and potentially number 2, but if you lose too much value here, that can be very, very tough, right? So the Screamers do end up attacking the Ogre Bulls, running up to the reinforcements. Oh, the blue fire angle was rough. Only one shot gets through. You got to watch out for those little cliffs. Sometimes they can obstruct you. But the pinks and blues are scurrying away. Screamers have engaged, but Screamers are like losing to Ogre Bulls. That's kind of the thing about them. I just feel like they're such a bad unit. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. The hell is that? What the hell was that? Wait, what was that cannon? Oh, that was the Hunters. Okay, so the Hunters have like a bombardment ability, which seems pretty good against Tzeentch, actually. Yeah, because they can like clear out light infantry. Okay, I kind of like that. Now, some of the blues and pinks did get back. Screamers getting absolutely destroyed. Ogres are up in value, but Ogres are going to be losing on the objective. So Tzeentch does, even though they might lose this engagement here, what the Tzeentch player can probably do at this point is summon in a bunch of troops down here and come and reinforce objective number 2 and just kind of hold the middle and do their thing. Yeah, we'll have to see, but they're still fighting pretty well in this objective. The Screamers of Tzeentch have attacked in, but are getting wrecked by the Ogre Bulls, which cost a little bit less, which is unfortunate for them. Herald of Tzeentch sitting up on his disc. Honestly, I think he should maybe be sitting over by Scrag and just kind of trying to snipe him the entire game. Now Ogres are summoning a bunch of Iron Fists. Iron Fists are the Ogre counter against shooting, or as one of the better counters they have. So Iron Fists basically are shielded Ogres, right? They have the bronze shields. So they're going to be moving in. Flamers of Tzeentch getting some nice shots right here. I think Tzeentch just kind of ignores objective number 1 and just goes for number 2 and just plays 1 and 2 the entire game and just like lives their best life there. I think that's the best play. Shots going in on the Ogre Bulls that are moving in, and though they are shielded, they're still lightly armored, so that's going to be a ton of damage coming in from the Tzeentch forces as they melt those Ogre Bulls. Up top, Tzeentch is winning in a very decisive not Tzeentch, excuse me. Ogres are winning in a pretty decisive faction, but they haven't actually... Yeah, they did capture the objective, so they at least got that going. Flamers of Tzeentch shooting in. Some of them blasting some shots into the old Hunters here, but the Hunters seem to be pretty healthy. And with Scrag's healing, they can get even stronger for sure. Gotta love when a rare ability surprises. Yeah, you know, you don't see Hunters terribly often. I mean, you do see them, but a lot of times people don't bring the abilities, but they have access to like a Vampire Coast kind of bombardment ability. Okay, Tzeentch, even though they're getting outvalued by a fair amount, by about 1,200, Bobman here is getting the objectives. The Ogres are playing like with all these big SEMs and these big things that don't necessarily have the capture weight to out-capture these cheap infantry. So Tzeentch might be able to get a pretty darn big lead on points if they can just play this objective game. The middle might be a little bit precarious, but Ogre Bulls with Iron Fist trying to move around. Tzeentch in terms of summoning, they do have some pinks coming in from the back, which I think is very, very good. Objective number 1 is going to be going to the Changer. And since the Hunters moved down to the low ground objective, that has given Tzeentch the opportunity to capture the high ground objective. Flamers of Tzeentch shooting into the big man here. They have decent tracking, actually. Wow, that was pretty good. Did about 400 or 500 damage. Another Flamer shooting in as well. Flamers of Tzeentch very, very good against armor. But we do have the dreaded Saber Tusks making their way in, so the Saber Tusks a very good hunting tool. Another bombardment going down, and the Tzeentch front line here is certainly buckling, but those little pink and blue horrors are surprisingly durable, and honestly, Tzeentch is doing a really good job pulling the value back. They were behind by quite a bit. It was almost like 1,500, 2,000 of a lead, but now it looks like the forces of the Changer are on their way back in, and I would imagine Scrag is going to be in the danger zone a little bit. No, it looks like he's okay back here. He's kind of hiding. What has the Iron Blaster been shooting, by the way? I feel like the Iron Blaster maybe has been trying to shoot at this Herald up in the sky. So the Chromatic Tomb is active. That's going to be giving power recharge. It also does replenish your reserves. A really, really good item. 2 Hunters very, very damaged, but the Saber Tusks here doing an excellent job. Some Screamers of Tzeentch were summoned, and with a little bit of buffering should be able to win that fight. Oh, the Iron Blaster shot, nasty. Those Flamers getting absolutely pounded right there. Now, Ogre's charging up, but I do not believe that the Iron Fist will help against the Flamethrower shots, and those Ogre Bulls pretty close to breaking, but the Iron Fist do actually save them from the pinks and blues, so it gives them enough staying power to kind of push up that hill. Now the middle objective is going to be contested. It looks like the Ogres might have the capture weight, but they keep moving off it. I've seen this happen a lot, where people focus too much on value trading in domination mode and don't really play the objectives, and it comes back to bite them. I think the big thing for Bobman is going to be trying to basically get enough points that he can win with just one objective with the triple cap here, and then what you do is you just fall back and Helm's Deep on your defensive objective. It's a really, really strong play for sure. So yeah, this objective is being held. It looks like the bombardment from the Hunter going down. It kind of tickles the pickle of those pink horrors with the shield there, but in the middle, the Ogres finally are getting some units onto the objective, but they might get shot off here by the Flamers of Tzeentch down here, as well as the pinks. Certainly a very contested fight so far. Scrag getting blasted by this Herald up in the sky. Really, really good pick on the Herald. I think the Herald is an excellent choice against Ogres, because he has a ranged attack too. Sometimes you'll see Tzeentch players also go with the double Iridescent Horror. Now down to the pits, we do have the 2 Stonehorn Hunters. It looks like the Ogres will finally wrestle control of this back objective. I don't see Tzeentch having too many ways of holding this, although they're still getting a lot of points, guys, and it is getting a little bit danger close to the point where Tzeentch might just need a single cap to win this. Because there's like no points for the Ogres right now. Scrag getting bombed again, and what's really cost effective about the Tzeentch character taking out Scrag isn't necessarily like, yeah, the damage is nice and he might eventually get him, but Scrag will most likely survive, is that it's forcing Scrag to use heals on himself instead of using them on like the Stonehorns or these other combat units that are a little bit more effective. Now Tzeentch does summon in some spawn. Spawn of Tzeentch pretty good. They have armor sundering, so they will bring the armor of the Hunter down to 80, which might not seem like a big deal, but it's still very, very nice. And then the shooting of Tzeentch will be that much more effective. So the back objective is taken here. Ogres threatening to take the center. Tzeentch needs to find a way to hold down the center for as long as they can. And look at this, a huge, huge force. And this is a pretty cool tactic. The fact that he banked resources and then summoned, like to make it more of a surprise, is strong. A lot of people will just kind of trickle in one unit at a time as soon as they can afford it. But being able to bank and surprise your opponents can be very strong. So big Ogre force. This is a huge capture force. We have Ogre Bulls and Double Noblars, which have amazing capture weight for their price point, and they're all moving here towards objective number 3. Now Tzeentch is holding down the middle. Tzeentch is actually still fighting for the high ground objective, but it looks like they're catching up in value pretty well too. The Hunter's armor is sundered, and Warp Flame also lowers armor, so he's actually down to 65 armor. Really cool combo of actually of the spawn plus the Flamers there. And the middle objective has been held by Tzeentch. Points are very, very heavily favored for the Changer, but the Ogres, with proper control here, especially if they pull some of these Ogre Bulls, they should be able to get objective 3, although Tzeentch is responding pretty well by getting a bunch of blues up here, and blues can defeat Noblars in combat, and their shooting is also quite exceptional against the Ogre Bull models, especially if they're not the Iron Fist variant, which they're not. These are just the basic Iron Fists or the basic Ogre Bulls, so they're not going to have any mitigation of any sort. And this low ground objective is being held pretty well, and Tzeentch is also threatening objective 1 again, which I think Ogre should hold, but they may have overcommitted to this side. It's a little bit hard to say. The 2 Hunters are definitely in the danger zone now, moving into that heavy firepower from the Changer, which is being bathed in Warp Flame. Still has 5,000 HP though, which is pretty incredible for sure. Now here, this Hunter does have the Troll Guts moving down to the low ground, going to be going after the Pink Horrors. Objective 2 really needs to be taken. Like, there needs to be some Nobblar Trappers or something to come jack this objective. I feel like the middle objective has basically been so unguarded for most of this game, but there's just been no capitalization from the Ogres on that. Like, I think having the Iron Blaster sitting on it would be good. Like, just any number of units could do that. But it's going to have to be a triple cap now, because I believe Tzeentch has enough points that they could just win on one objective. So if you're the Tzeentch player in this situation, what you want to do is basically just get all of your units and run them to objective 3. Like, all your additional summons, just Helm's Deep. You need to sound the horn of Helm Hammerhand once more on objective number 3 and make sure that the Uruk Nobblers can't get there and capture it. So 100% think that would be the play. Although it looks like he's still contesting multiple sides, which I suppose by contesting the rest of the battlefield, he is, keeping the Ogres busy. But again, Helm's Deeping here would be very good, because now the Ogres might be able to get it. The Ogre Bulls charging downhill. The Pink Horrors are in a little bit of a rough position, but they do actually roadblock the Nobblars off. Screamers are coming in, will lend a little bit of anti-large against the Ogre Bulls. And looks like game 1 is very, very tight. The middle objective is now being taken, but there are some blues that are moving up onto that objective to buy a little bit of time. Gorgers have been summoned in. I'm surprised we didn't see Gorgers earlier. I know they might not seem intuitively strong against Tzeentch, but just due to the fact that the unit is a little bit overtuned in my experience, they trade very, very well against most things. But yeah, you got to Helm's Deep on this objective. This back objective is literally everything. Tzeentch has been allowed to hold these middle objectives for too long. I feel like Ulrich, though he's playing very well in terms of value trading, he's actually quite ahead of Tzeentch in terms of almost like 1,500, 2,000 value. And that's not even including the healing he's been getting. He hasn't been playing the objectives very well. He's been focusing too much on just the big karate chops. But I mean, there is a chance there could be a triple cap here, dude. Oh man. Look at this. Ogres have such good capture weight. It's pretty insane. Ogre Bulls have the same capture weight as infantry. And now we're getting blues. And see what I'm saying? Like, there was still units being summoned over here, like on these different objectives. Whereas I think if Tzeentch had just cackled and summoned a ton of units on the back objective, they just had the game easily won. But they kept summoning units to try and contest the middle and these other points. They are holding objective number 2 as well. And I think Ulrich is realizing now. Nobblers are sprinting for objective 2. Oh my god, this could be like a huge reverse sweep with the Ogres. Oh, and the objective is taken. I can't believe he allowed that to happen. You got to just fall back and Helm's Deep on that objective. You got to do it. Objective 2 is for Tzeentch. Guys, they're within 100 points of winning. Oh my god. And the Ogres get all 3 objectives with like 105 points to spare. Now Tzeentch has to basically just battle tooth and nail to try and get this back objective. Like, they have to try and get this. It's their only chance, I think. I mean, trying to ninja these other objectives, Ogres are too fast of a faction. Oh man, could have potentially been a throw here. Like, I think that Bob had that one in the bag. All right, so Pinks are moving up. They're obviously going to give some good shooting, but Ulrich Rahl has been using his flanking in these Ogre Bulls with the Iron Fist super well. Dude, 105 points. That is so close. And now the Ogres, I think, have a pretty good stranglehold on objectives. And Ogres aren't a faction that you can outmaneuver super easily. Tzeentch is obviously trying to get up with whatever they can. The Hunter in the backfield is still going like an absolute champ. And despite the fact that Ulrich made some big misplays with the objectives, he still is able to triple cap with like literally 15 seconds left before he had lost the game. Tzeentch does have a lot of time, but Ogres are also up on value. If it was the reverse and Ogres were down on value and Tzeentch was up, I would be a little bit more confident that Tzeentch would be able to capture some objectives here. But in this case, I simply think that they're not going to be able to. I think the Ogres win this game. Because like, they can respond so fast. If Tzeentch summons anything here, you have like a bunch of like 54 speed Ogres responding to that threat and roadblocking them. Oh man, this is crazy. This is a wild game, dude. What a great one to start things off. Like, that's, you gotta always have that mindset when you're playing domination mode. Like, okay, do I have enough to Helm's Deep? And if you do, you go for it. And just like literally stack every single unit you have on that objective. Because, even with just one, would have been able to win the game in like, what? So it's 5 per second. So yeah, it wouldn't have been very long. Crazy, crazy stuff. But yeah, I think the Ogres hold the objectives now. I'm curious to see what Tzeentch is going to do. Bob looks like he's still just trying to get up on this objective. But you can see here, like, his 3 units, like, so 700s, 1400, and 1800 gold are struggling to get through like 650 gold here. Like, struggling horribly. The Ogre Bulls with Iron Fist, very, very cost effective here. I wonder if Tzeentch could pull some sort of a switch and go for like a huge back cap. That's probably what I would recommend. If I was the Tzeentch player in this situation, I'd probably bank like 2,000 gold, summon a couple Forsaken if I have them, and just like try and blitz to objective 1 for like an all-in or something. It's going to be tough. Ogres really, really have a good stranglehold on this one. And now the Ogres are just cackling and getting more points. And yeah, I think that's got to be GG. Like, Bob's army is getting crumbled up in the high ground. Man, and the Ogres pull out just a narrow victory there. That was a crazy game. Well played to both players. That was a fun one. I thought Tzeentch had that one in the bag with the points lead. Hunters did good. Iron Blaster only got 1,500. Nothing like was too crazy in terms of performing for the Ogres. Yeah, just slight outvalue and then getting the objectives using the Noblars, which they're super good for it.